So in this swing drill, we'll start to connect really the hands and arms to the rib cage, the pelvis, that wonderful connection through essentially arms and body, but also start to then add into more of the kinetic observation. So really how the hands can apply force and pressure to the handle, and equally then so how we start to interact through hands in handle, arms in spine, spine in pelvis, and also then really connect into how we then sort of relate and interact the foot and ankles to the floor. So more of those kinetic ground reaction forces. So just using a piece of tubing or a piece of TheraBand, really whichever option you have available. I might have small hooks attached to the end. So just initially start by wrapping around the front of the pelvis, then crossing in front. So in this case, you'll see the two hooks here, as you'll see as we zoom in closely. So initially start by wrapping the bottom piece of tubing just around the base of the shaft, and then in this case, just hook it to the tubing onto the hook onto the tubing, or just tie a slip knot, whichever option you have available. And then with the top piece of tubing, once again, wrap it around the top of the handle with the tubing. Either just use a slip knot or kind of a piece of Velcro, whichever option you have. In this case, we're very lucky to have the hooks. So then even when you take your start position, obviously it depends on really what one's aspirations may well be. Even then, by really pushing out, really increasing that length in the tubing, as we just essentially take our normal start position, that can, once again, really depend on really one's aspirations, really then encourage more lean and compression and almost connections through that start position. Just really taking that normal start position, then just start to reference, in essence, whatever pressure, whatever length, whatever resistance you feel through that tubing, that as you move through backswing, and then start to move into impact and post-impact, it's keeping that length, that pressure through that tubing at all times. So actually playing now towards the camera, once again, whatever length, whatever pressure you feel on that tubing, that as you move through swing, both through back, downswing and post-impact, is keeping that length, keeping that pressure on that tubing at all times. So then even really expanding into some of those kinetic observations, that as the club moves away from the ball, as we keep that length, that pressure through that tubing at all times through backswing, that can really encourage that lead hand in particular to really kind of push downwards into the handle, to really then start to apply certainly different pressure or more force into that handle in that initial phase in backswings. In some ways it becomes that kind of kinetic, kinematic, that human connection observation, that as that lead hand pushes downwards, the thumbs actively then move upwards towards that radial deviation position. So very much connecting the human, the awareness, with the kinetics, the forces, with the movement, in this case, the kinematic joint range as we move through. And even then to expand on how this can connect back to then lower limb activity, that as we start to move through backswing, as we keep that length on the tubing, as we move into backswing, it then really starts to change and challenge in a nice, very, very healthy, expansive way, how those feet and ankles start to connect and interact with the ground in swing. So in some ways, that as we keep that length on that tubing through backswing, as we come into impact and post-impact, it can then really start to challenge, almost load more those feet and ankles into the ground as we move in swing. So once again, as we move through swing, whatever length you have on that tubing, initially only kind of pitch shots is keeping that length on the tubing all times through back, down and through swing. Any adaptations, either the hands moving excessively inwards or moving away from you, will then really start to challenge either reducing or increasing the length you feel through that tubing in swing. So this can be a wonderful drill to improve the connection, the awareness between arms and body, also how the hands interact with the handle, and then even subsequently then how the feet and ankles interact with the floor. So once again, playing towards the camera, the length in the tubing from those initial pitch shots to start with, keeping that length connected at all times, keeping that length the same at all times, can be a wonderful expansive way of improving the connection, the movement, the kinetics of the hands into the handle, and how those feet connect into the floor.